So again, these next couple examples are typed on your formula sheet. We have solved all kinds of linear equations. In these, we're not going to get an actual number answer. We are just rewriting it to get a particular variable by itself. So it tells us a trapezoid has an area 169 square inches, height 13 inches, and base 19 inches. Find the length of the other base by first solving this formula for b sub 1. So I'm telling you, here's the formula, and I want you to get b sub 1 by itself. First thing I notice in here, I have a fraction. How could I get rid of that 1/2? So multiply each side by 2. So we get a 2a. 1/2 times 2 is 1. Okay, my goal is to get this b by itself. So what would I need to do with my h? All right, we have two options. I heard of divide and I heard of distribute, and both ways are correct. So your answer may look slightly different depending on what you do. If you divide it over, you end up with 2a over h equals b sub 1 plus b sub 2. If your thought was to distribute, you get here. So you don't have to write both of these on your paper, pick your path. If I'm going the first route, what would you do to get your b sub 1 by itself? And then you've got your equation. If you went the second route, you would subtract this h times b sub 2. And then what would you do with your h? Divide it over. And so you would get 2a minus h times b sub 2 divided by h. Okay, you don't have to have both of these, just one, but both are true equations. So either one is correct. Then I asked you to answer the question. I told you the area was 169. So if I plug that in for my area, that's my A. The height is 13. And the base is 19. So then we get what were my units? Inches. Same way if you had done the other equation. As well. So two possible equations, they both are going to work. It's just a matter of which path you took to get there. Any questions on that? Okay. Let's look at the one. So solve for the given variable. All right, on this first one, P equals 2W plus 2L. I want to solve for the L. So to get the L by itself, what should I do? They're not like terms, so you can't actually combine them, so it's just P minus 2W. Then what? So your L is P 2W all divided by 2. Next one. I want to solve this for F. Have that 5 or 5/9 in front. What could you do to get rid of that? You can distribute. Or multiply by the reciprocal and move it to the other side. Do you guys have a preference? Okay, so we're going to take each side times 9/5. So then those cancel. Then what would you do to get F by itself? And you're done. Okay, so that was the only new piece today. Are we okay with that stuff? I would like to do a few review problems. Just kind of summarizing the things that we've done so far. So this is our first review problem. And these are not typed up on that handout, I apologize for that. So the first day we did the geometry type problems, so this is review from that day. We have a puzzle piece in the shape of a triangle, has perimeter 30 centimeters. Two sides of the triangle are each twice as long as the shortest side. Find the length of the shortest side. So what should we do? Alright, we have a triangle. Okay. I'm comparing them to the shortest side. I don't know the length of my shortest side, so that would be my X. The others are twice as long as that.
2x.
So each of those would be a 2x. How do we get perimeter? So I have 2x plus 2x plus x equals my perimeter of 30. We get 5x equals 30, divided by 5, and x equals 6. And how do I want you to answer? In words. I asked you to find the length of the shortest side. X was the length of the shortest side. The short side is 6 centimeters. Is that okay with everyone? The second day, we started doing the mixture problems. So let's do a mixture problem to review. How many gallons of pure alcohol should be mixed with 20 gallons of a 15% alcohol to obtain a mixture that is 25% alcohol? What do we do on these problems? What formula goes across the top?
Amount times concentrate equals pure.
those are the columns. So we have the things for mixing. You can label them however you want. First, second, total is fine, or you can label them with percent. I start out with how many gallons of the pure. So I don't know my amount. If it is pure, what is the concentration? 100%, so we would do 1. Should be mixed with 20 gallons of a 15% to obtain a mixture that's 25. Remember, I always told you your final mix will fall in between your highest and lowest. We have a 10, a 15, and a 25. So my total has to be the 25. That's our middle number. Yeah, and this one is my 15, so my 0.15. Okay, so then from there, do I know how much of the 20 we have, or
The second is the 20, and then for the total amount, you will put
we have 20 gallons of the 15. If you pour in X of the first and 20 of the second, then you add them together there. Then we can use the formula to fill in the final column. Amount times concentration, so X times 1 is X. This one we have a 0.25 times X plus 1. So how do we finish it from here?
You use the X plus the 0.15 times 20 is equal to 0.25 times R plus 1.
Add your first two to equal this. Subtract over my 0.25. Subtract my 2. And divide. We get, alright, I'll just write it as a fraction. You can write it as 2.6 repeating, or 8/3, or 2 2/3, any of those are fine. So the question said, how many gallons of the pure alcohol?
What did we say, 2.6 repeating?
That would be fine. Questions on that one? Then we've also done some mixture-like problems, but they were interest. So we set them up with a table, but we had a slightly different formula across the top. So let's look at one of those. A man bought 2 plots of land for a total of $120,000. When he sold the first plot, he made a profit of 15%. When he sold the second, he lost 10%. His total profit was $5,500. How much did he pay for each piece of land? So what do we do when we have lots of information like this? Okay. Now I'm not talking about, concentrations here. What's my formula?
Principal times rate times people's interest.
you need a column for each of those things. So we have a column for principal, one for rate, one for time, one for interest. So we've got 2 plots of land. So I've got my first, my second, and my total. He bought them for a total of $120,000. What's that? When he sold the first, he made a profit of 15%. So my rate for the first would be, do I know how much he sold that for?
No.
That would be my X. When he sold the second, he lost 10%. How would I show a loss?
Negative point.
Okay, and what would I put for this amount? Just flip those around. The total
Minus.
minus the amount you've already used. Yeah. Okay, if I don't mention time, we will assume 1 year. Total profit is 5,500. Where does that go?
In the interest.
So then we can multiply. Principal times rate times time, so I get 0.15x. Negative 0.1 times 120,000 minus x. And the equation is set up the same way. You add your first 2. To equal this total. I distribute. Add like terms. It's 70,000. Is that right?
About 50.
50?
I got 70.
You add. That's 12,000. So the question was, how much did you pay for each piece? So he paid $70,000 for the first. And the second, 120,000 minus 70,000 is 50,000.